that's the music we got to use until I forgot to add the intro. So
Yeah, we'll get it though. I think what I need to do is like the, if I get some extra money, I'll probably get like
it's live, right?
Oh, man. I didn't know we was live.
We
I
are
didn't know
live.
we was like that.
We're live.
Well, shit. If I get some extra money, man, I'll get some speakers, man. Hey, yo, where the sponsors, man?
Where them dollars?
I gotta invest in the man cave, man. So that we can do the show and it looks official. So, nah, man, get some extra money. I can't wait till like tax season or something, man. When that come around and stuff, man.
So, we here. So this is off the record. Oh, they can't hear me. Hold on.
All right, there I go. This is off the record. I'm Anthony Adebayo.
Boy, Scotty B. Okay, all right. Check you out. Now, look, I'm just gonna say this.
Oh God.
The start off. So a couple things I gotta say. Number one, shout out to the hardest working man in showbiz.
Who that?
That's you. That's you. That's you. That is you. You do the setup. You do the production. You got so much going on. And I found out you had a hidden talent this morning.
We're not going to do this today. We're not going to do
Hey, for the people, can you give us a Nehu or Neyu?
No.
Hey, if you're watching right now, you got to let the people know. Do you know what a Nehu?
Nehu. You're not about to set me up now. I don't even know what you're talking about. 90s music had the Nehus.
The Nehu. All right, so look, if you know what a Nehu is, go ahead and jump in our comments and explain to us what it is. I just learned what it is yesterday, and I'm going to tell you, Ant has the best Nehu. I'm going to put him up there with Johnny Gill.
What is wrong with you, yo?
My guy has hidden talents, boss. Anyway, I got to grow up. But anyway, man, how was your week?
The week was good. The week's been good. We got Todd said, "Well, isn't this a sports show?" But no, the week's been good, man. Last week, high school team, we got another win back to back. This time we won 50-0. So shout out to the Flint Hill Huskies. Yeah, man. So now we're 2-2 heading into probably our biggest game of the season. And, it's going to be a challenge. We go to Maryland this weekend. So we win this game. It's going to be tough for anybody else to beat us moving forward because, it is what it is. But yeah, so what about you?
It's been good. My 49ers got a win on Monday night.
Okay.
I was excited because, everybody was thinking that the Rams was just going to destroy us. I've been having a pretty rough fantasy year all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I've got leagues where I'm doing well, but I think last week was the first week that I won in the majority of the weeks that I played in.
Okay.
So now it's been a pretty good week. Aaron Judge. We have to talk. He had 61 yesterday.
62. Yeah, 62.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's dope. Of course, I'm not a Yankees fan, but I like Aaron Judge. I think he's a good player. He's not one of those guys that you would suspect for like performance enhancing drugs. So it makes it a lot better to see somebody like that, do what he's doing. And not to mention he bet on himself. So he turned down I think like a $300 million contract last year to bet on himself. So he's probably gonna get $500 million somehow. They're gonna figure it out. 15 years or 10 years, $500 million. And he's probably gonna win MVP, and he deserves it because it's mainly between him and Ohtani in the AL. And Ohtani's not going to the playoffs.
No, and not to overshadow what Ohtani's got going on. 34 home runs. I believe his ERA was 2.02. He had 15 wins this year.
Mm-hmm.
For a pitcher to hit 34 home runs is, aside from the season that Aaron Judge is having, chasing the Triple Crown.
Right.
what Otani is doing is, I don't want to say it's the next best offensive season of all time, but it's up there. You know, it's right there. If
Absolutely.
Aaron Judge didn't hit 62 home runs,
He probably went MVP.
yeah, he would win MVP easy.
So, and we're going to get to football in a minute because we got a lot to talk about because we missed last week. But what's up with the Angels? I've been meaning to ask this for months. Why is it that you have two guys on your team that are generational type talents on your team, and you struggle? You can't even make the playoffs.
So here's the thing, right? In baseball, it's more of a collective effort. It's sort of like football.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, I think a lot of people, when they're evaluating baseball, they evaluate it like basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got like Kevin Durant or you got LeBron James and you got two of the top players in basketball, you're expected to be able to go deep in the playoffs, and that's enough to win. You should be able to elevate the players around you. Football, if you've got a talented quarterback and you've got some pieces on defense and you got a few offensive weapons, the quarterback can make things happen because, you know, for the most part, they keep the ball in their hands the majority of the game and they control the game.
Mm-hmm.
In baseball, you've got to depend on so many other people. Now, I wouldn't go as far to say that's the ultimate team sport, but you could be a generational talent like Mike Trout and Otani, like we've talked about, and if nobody else does anything, then
You struggle.
you struggle. You know, especially if you look at Mike Trout. I mean, he could hit a home run every game, which he doesn't. But I'm just using that as a hypothetical, and they could still lose if everybody around them is not doing anything. And I think that they've struggled over the years to surround Mike Trout,
Which is weird.
Yeah.
So do you? Because you can't really blame Trout because I think most people would say I've heard people say he's the best ever, right? I've heard people say those type of things. So my question is, why can't he get? Because he's in LA. Why can't he get superstars to come play with him?
So that's the one thing that I don't really see a lot of in baseball, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist, but in football and in basketball, you see the star players recruiting other players.
Right.
I don't know how much of that goes on in baseball. I'm sure it does, but to your point, it should be like a long list of guys that should want to play with this generational talent, but for whatever reason, they don't, or they're not, or, you know, maybe they feel like that the Angels is second fiddle to the Dodgers out there, which I mean, for the most part, they are. I really don't know. That's a great question.
I mean, because who do you blame? Do you blame the general manager? Do you blame the ownership? I mean, because don't be surprised if Otani goes to the Dodgers. Like,
I think you're right. You got to put it on ownership and you got to put it on management, because one thing about baseball is they're huge on developing their
farm system.
Yeah, their farm system. So if you can't get like free agents and you can't get people to come to your team, the next best thing is you've got to develop your prospects,
right?
So that you can get those up to the major leagues. So what that tells me is if you've got Mike Trout and you can't surround him with, I mean, they don't even sniff the playoffs, right?
No, they're never close.
Yeah, they're never even close to the playoffs. So if they can't put the talent around him so that he can at least not elevate the team, but, you know, at least have some sort of help, then that it speaks to the organization, in my opinion.
So, yeah, I mean, and it's not like because the Angels as a franchise has won championships. It's not like in somewhat recent history, you know. So
I got it. While we're on baseball, I got a really good documentary. It's on Netflix. It's a Nolan Ryan documentary. It's a good documentary.
It is.
We were talking about the Angels, and it made me think about his stint with the Angels and everything that he did there. So yeah, if you if you're bored or you want to check out something on Netflix, that's a pretty good documentary. But let's go back to Aaron Judge, right?
Okay.
And I've been meaning to ask you this. If you're Aaron Judge, you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
What are the odds that he goes back to the Yankees?
Well, it's the Yankees, so I'm almost saying that the odds are good. But I don't think that the Yankees should take them being the Yankees for granted. Because there are a lot of owners out there that have matched the Yankees dime for dime. And there's an organization out in LA called the Dodgers who will pay anybody and everybody if they need to. You have San Diego, who is they're trying to make a push. The Phillies have
young core.
Yeah, and they made this run that we may or may not talk about. It reminds me of the Celtics of what they did this past season, which makes me a little nervous as a Braves fan, even though I have on a White Sox hat. Has nothing to do, but whatever. But don't sleep on a team like the Rays, and don't sleep on a team like the Rangers. And the reason why I say those two specific teams are because the Rays have been pretty successful in the last 5-6 years, and they are in Florida, which has no state tax, just like Texas. Now, why wouldn't they? If they could get somebody like Aaron Judge to come to the Texas Rangers, they're gonna pack this. Their stadium is gonna look at how the stadium was last night. So if you got somebody like Aaron Judge, he is a superstar that can pack that stadium. So he can pack that stadium and have people like, so the Yankees better not be too comfortable,
So I've heard a couple rumors that he may entertain going to the Mets.
I heard that as well.
I don't believe that. I think even though the Mets have the money to give him, if you're going to stay in New York, he's better off staying with the Yankees. I've even heard that the San Francisco Giants are in the running for him, and he can end up out there. So there's a lot of options. So let's talk this before we get into the football talk, right? How do you feel about nobody really acknowledging Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and all the other guys before that broke the record?
I think it's hogwash. It's bullcrap. Because here's the thing. First off, I know I've heard other people say that it was a bunch of people that benefited monetarily off of those home runs. Baseball was in a bad space before McGwire, Sosa, and Bonds came along. And so it was, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before whatever. And let's be honest, there were pitchers using PEDs as well. It's not like it was just these three guys. If I believe the Mitchell report had,
there's a lot of people on that.
Was it like 200 players or something like that? It was a ton of guys, right? But you got three guys that were, so clearly you still had to have some sort of skill to do what they did, because if that was the case, you would have saw multiple guys hitting 60, and there's only one person hit 70. So no, you have to acknowledge those, because if you don't, then you go back to Andy Pettit or Roger Clemens or Kurt Schilling. Yeah, so you're gonna take all of those, take their records away too. Whatever it is that they got, take it away too.
So I'll double down on that, right? I think you got it absolutely correct. And I think if you think about it, so the home run record is probably the most cherished or heralded record in all of sports, right? People would disagree with that, but for the most part, the home run record, most people consider that the top of the top record.
Right.
For all the players that use PEDs during that time, a lot of championships were won. A lot of teams won during that time. There's been other awards, like you said, and there's been other players that did it. Now, half of the argument is that those were the three that got caught, right? So
Right.
other guys that were juicing during that time maybe did not get caught. But there's a lot of players like Big Papi. He's been tied in to PED use.
Right.
Is that going to stop him from being in the Hall of Fame? No. He's going to still go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because he was loved. He was a lovable character.
Exactly. So, you know, the hogwash, like you said, and it's a good word for it, that we take one person, we don't recognize their achievements
Right.
because they were using PEDs, which baseball, on one end, the PED rule has always been in effect, but it's never been enforced, right? Until recently. So those guys were cheating, but baseball never caught them. And if you look at other sports too,
Well, they caught him. They just ain't say nothing.
right? When you look at other sports too, like you look at football, there's guys juicing in football, but if you don't get caught, it is what it is. So I get that he's got the AL record, right? He's got 62
Correct.
home runs. So the American League record, he's broken Roger Maris's record. Good. But the home run record belongs to Barry Bonds. I mean, you cannot take it away even if you don't acknowledge it. So I have had mixed feelings about the way that it's been covered, the way that people have just said, you know, we're just not going to acknowledge it. And I think it's a little bit unfair if we're being frank about it.
Right, absolutely. No, absolutely. And so the thing is, I guess the biggest thing is that most of these reporters wouldn't care if Barry Bonds wasn't such a jerk to him. He didn't care about
It's a
them.
lot of it.
And if he wasn't a jerk, he probably would be in the Hall of Fame right now.
Yeah,
Even with that.
that's a ton of it.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you're right. I mean, he wasn't the most likable person during that time, but
Right.
who cares? And like you said too, if you look at it, he was going to be a Hall of Famer anyway. Now, what people, I guess, dislike is the way that his performance spiked, right? You know, so Barry Bonds traditionally, when he wasn't using PEDs, was 35, 40 home runs top. So to go from 40 home runs to go to 60 home runs or 70 home runs, that's going to raise some red flags. Same with McGuire, same with Sosa. They all were around that 30, 35 mark. And then to suddenly almost double your total.
Rocking them Jones.
And double like your physique as well. You know, like Barry Bonds was
He had a build like Ken Griffey.
right. And then for him to just, I mean, you could visibly see. And the other thing with it, I think his defensive play declined at the time too. Like if you look at it, he was a Golden Glove left fielder.
Yeah.
You know, after he started using, then he really wasn't the
Well,
fielder.
so
that he
here's
used to be.
here's the other thing with that. I mean, injuries happen as you get older. You know.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's almost like I'll use basketball as an example. Somebody that could jump. Once you ain't got that jumping ability, now what? You got to have a jump shot. Right. So I think his jump shot was the home runs. So and he did a damn good job with hitting the home runs. Now, did he use some enhancements? Everybody did.
Right.
So it's not like he just had superior talent combined with that with that power. So I don't know, but let's get to the NFL because oh boy. See, we missed last week, and it was important because there was two things that happened. The first was the Bills versus Dolphins game, and Tua got knocked out, but they said his back hurt. So
it's interesting. So because we don't have the music, the Miami Dolphins are my winner of the week.
Oh wait, we could get the music.
Nah, you ain't gotta get the music.
No, you're a winner.
We're just
No,
saying
you're a
because-
winner. No, you're a winner. All right, go ahead. All
Nah,
right.
but we'll roll right into it, right? So
Okay.
that's perfect situation. Yeah, they're my winner of the week. Clearly, Tua was concussed. This guy, what is his name? McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel. Yeah, he was with the 49ers.
Go figure.
Yeah, and I like him when he was with the 49ers, but he's no longer with the 49ers.
Right.
He comes off as a sleazeball to me, man. Just a real sleazy individual. Now, I have no facts to base that on.
Right.
This is just opinion off of appearance.
Ooh.
Right? So, after everything went down with the coach, Brian Flores, right, last year, and he kind of stepped in there. And I was watching some of his interviews when he took the job, and I was like, man, this guy, this seems like a prick that would do anything to be a head coach, right?
Right.
And I guess his demeanor and what I saw in his press conference when he talked about the whole Tua issue, he just gives me the perception that he could really care less about his players and he's more concerned with the end result. Again, I have no proof of this, and I'm going to say this on air so we don't get sued. But this is just my opinion and my perception.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Ryan Flores has a case. I feel like the Miami Dolphins come off as a win at all costs organization, especially now that Brady's not in the division. And right now, they feel like the food is there for the taking. And you can't do that with Teddy Bridgewater. But you have an opportunity with Tua. And I think that Mike McDaniel, right? Yeah, Mike McDaniel, he's playing right into that win at all costs type narrative. Now, the thing is, he has an out because they have independent doctors who look at those things. So all he's doing is taking their word for it and going from there. When sometimes you just gotta be smarter than that and look at him and say, he ain't right. And you could look at Tua and say, he ain't right.
As a matter of fact, Stevie Wonder texted me and told me that he was watching the game and he believed that Tua wasn't right. So Stevie thought. So I know. Nah, I can't go there. I can't go there.
Why is he like this?
I mean, Tua. I mean, it's bad, man. It's a bad look. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's a bad look for football, but overall, man, it just was a bad look for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, there's a lot of people watching.
Absolutely. And so here's the thing. Tua just got interviewed yesterday. He's not playing this week, of course. They fired that independent doctor. They fired the independent.
Make somebody the scapegoat.
Yeah, absolutely. So at this point, they're doing an investigation. But here's my thoughts. I think that the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins doctors, the team doctors should be fined. I also think that the head coach should be fined. I think that the owner of the Miami Dolphins should be fined, even though he's a Michigan alum, whatever. He should be fined. And and of course that guy, those independent doctors, got fired because something the NFL has to set. I know they said they're gonna they toughening up the protocol, but something has to be done to set some sort of precedent as far as like you can't do this because that looks scary on Thursday when he got knocked out of that Bengals game. And everything locked up. So and it was. It didn't seem like that. I mean, he got slung to the ground by a dude who was 2, 3 times bigger than him. So I get that, but they have the NFL itself has to set some sort of precedent as far as you can't do this. And I don't want to say people should lose their job because the person that lost their job should have lost their job because at the end of the day, they make the initial call as to whether he can go back in or not. So now So Mike McDaniel should be fined. Their doctors, their team doctors should be fined, and the owner should be fined. And the owner should be fined mainly because it's your team. You have to hold some sort of accountability for what they're doing because if they're doing this, you're allowing this.
So at some point, you got to protect the player from themselves.
Absolutely.
If you're not going to protect the player, and that should be really your main obligation as a coach. I know they talked to John Harbaugh, they talked to Bill Belichick, and one of the things that they said is they've overruled the neurologists. Yeah, that's it. Neurologists. They've overruled them and said, hey, this player is not good to go. They're not going in. You know what I mean? And they've ultimately protected the player from injuring themselves again. So I thought it was a bad look, my opinion. Let's talk some little bit more football. So Buffalo Bills, where are you at with them?
See, Buffalo's they're a little different because they have a bunch of injuries. And I feel like Josh Allen gets put on a pedestal. I think that he's a dog. He's a dog, but I feel like they don't talk about his inaccuracy as much as they should. Like he's not the most accurate quarterback. You know, he can run and he can throw, but he's not the most accurate. And I think that should be talked about a little bit more. Do they have a good team? Yes. They cannot run the ball to save their lives. And it's the weirdest thing because they're in one of the coldest areas. So in December, you would think that because one, you would want that home field advantage, right? But they have a quarterback that can throw through that wind and stuff like that. But it's weird why they can't run the ball.
And so they've had this issue for about 2 or 3 seasons now. Because they've had the same guys. I don't know if they drafted Cook thinking that maybe he was going to be the answer or he was going to be a little bit better. They appear to have took a page out of the Patriots book to where they're just content with being a run-by-committee type offense. But the issue with that is that if you're a run-by-committee offense, the Patriots are at least successful doing it.
Right.
And they're able to get the results that they need from having multiple backs in their offense. Buffalo does not seem to have that going on. So, you've got Singletary that's still there. It's not Zach. I know it's
Zach Moss. Yeah, Moss.
Zach Moss that's still there. And
Cook.
And those guys don't seem to be progressing any. It seemed to be.
They don't have enough attempts either.
That's a lot of it.
So I think that their passing game is an extension of their running game when it used to be the other way around. They just don't care to run the ball. And I guess if you're paying Josh Allen all that money, well then you can do what you want. But we'll see because the Chiefs, when they won their championship, they didn't run that much, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a pretty good year. That was his rookie year. He ain't really done much since, but
he's actually quietly having a decent year. Maybe it's not as far as like he's leading the league in rushes, but he is catching the ball out.
He's having a good year.
And he's scoring. I don't know the statistics offhand, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's got close to 250, 300 yards rushing and he's got probably 100 yards receiving. Which I mean, we're really think about it. We're just a quarter of the way. So if he can get to, yeah, he's on pace to have 1,000 yards, which.
It's still a good thing, man. It ain't that many. It was only 8 last year, or 8 or 9 guys that rushed for 1,000 yards last year. So getting 1,000 yards is still an accomplishment in my eyes.
Well, you got to look at the way football is played, right? So now, like the pass attack is heavy, right? So you look at the receivers and the quarterbacks, and yeah, they've got better seasons because they pass the ball more. Well, they had to take away from somewhere, right? So you look at, like, you don't have the Adrian Petersons. It's maybe probably about 6-7 backs throughout the NFL that may have an isolated backfield to where they're the bulk of the carries. Most teams are running at least 2 running backs. You know, so they try to get 1,000 yards with reduce rushing and then splitting the backfield with somebody. Yeah, it can be challenging. It can be a little bit tough. On top of the fact that running backs are now required to be receivers in a sense.
Yeah. So we are a quarter of the way through the season. You got 1 pick for each. What team has overachieved? What team has underachieved? And what team is doing exactly what you expected them to do? One of each.
So I would say the Eagles have overachieved. Despite a lot of people being critical of who they have played, they still 4-0. You know what I mean? There's nobody that's 4-0. So I would say that they've overachieved. I personally feel like the Raiders, even though that they got their win, have underachieved. I thought that they were going to be a little bit better than what they were. And then you said a team that's doing exactly what I expected them to do. That's a tough one. I want to go with the Colts.
God, dog. Oh my God. I'm thinking you're gonna say a team that's like being successful. They stink.
No, they're doing exactly what I thought they were going to do.
Wow, I wasn't expecting it.
No.
So you have the Chiefs. I'm not the Chiefs. The Eagles, the Raiders, and the Colts. For me, the team that I feel like overachieved, I would actually say the Seahawks. I say the Seahawks. A team that underachieved. The Rams. And a team that are like right where I expected them is probably the Chiefs. And I know they lost to the Colts, but that just looked like they were looking past their opponent. And I was like, but the Seahawks I thought would have one, maybe no wins at this point. But I mean, they're 3-1 or they 2-2?
They're 2-2.
They 2 because they
lost to the 49ers, and then I believe they beat Denver.
And they beat the Falcons, right?
They beat the Falcons, and I believe they.
But they are 2-2.
Yeah.
But regardless, I thought that they would stink. I thought they'd be one of the worst teams in the league. Geno Smith is playing lights out. Is actually playing better than Russell Wilson, and technically better than Tom Brady. But whatever. The Rams. I know it's early. But it's hard for me to say that the Rams are going to make the playoffs. I think that they struggle at tackling in the open field. They don't have their O-line is really bad, and it looks like Matt Stafford is hurt, and not only is he hurt, he's only throwing to one receiver. And so it's
their
kinda,
run game is.
and their run game stinks. But that is
But
partly.
I don't know why though.
Their line sucks. And Cam Akers just doesn't. He looked better when he came back
from the injury.
than he does now.
Yeah.
And so it's really alarming watching them because they have Cooper Kupp and it seems like that's
He's
it.
the only person they're throwing the ball to.
That's the only person. And then
And that worked out to my advantage too.
Yeah,
I needed Cooper Kupp to have a big game, but at some point you like, dang, where's Allen Robinson? I mean, he's right there, and he appears to be open sometimes.
a lot of the time, So it's really weird. Can they turn it around? Absolutely. Hopefully not this weekend because they play the Cowboys, but the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think that they are the Chiefs.
I believe the Cowboys, and you'll like this, I believe they're overachieving right now. I think initially when Dak went down, if the Cowboys would have been at 500, most people would have considered that successful. And Cooper Rush coming in and really holding the fort down. But to be at 3-1 and to possibly, I think they personally could beat the Rams.
They are going to beat the Rams.
Yeah, I was not impressed with what I saw. Like I told you, we didn't talk, but there was that guy that had that 15 pick parlay.
Yeah.
And, he was going to win 74,000, and then if he would have cashed out, he would have won 29,000.
Yeah.
It came down to Monday night, and he bet on the Rams, and I'm just sitting there like,
you better cash out.
yeah, you better cash out because this is not good. And at halftime, if I was that guy, it probably went down to like 10,000.
No, it was 15,000 at halftime.
Oh yeah, he should have cashed out
For a $20 bet. Yeah. So you said the Raiders, right? And I don't think the Raiders look as bad as the Rams. I think that it's more of a because they lost. It's not like they were getting blown out. They lost close games, which you got a new coach, a new system, a few new some new players. I think the Raiders turn it around and they make the playoffs. But I think looking at it right now, if the Rams look like they could end up being the worst team in the division this season, and who would have thought that? Because I've heard people say that they go repeat.
I don't think they're going to repeat.
Oh, they're not repeat. Not at all.
I don't know if, like I said, the season is still early. The Cardinals do not look that great either.
They don't.
The Seahawks, like I said, they're better than what most people expected. Shout out to Geno Smith. I know we talked about him a little bit, but I think most people have wrote Geno Smith off. And, it's still early. He's still got time to mess up, but he's really looking like the guy that came out of West Virginia.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this, and I know we got a resident Saints fan that normally listens in at sometimes. So Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. Somebody told me today that they feel like they actually went to the game. They were at the London game. Right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, big time, right? And they said up close, Andy Dalton needs to be starting. Now, I've got a lot of bad memories of Andy Dalton, and they start with the Bengals. I'm sure you've got a lot of bad memories with the Cowboys.
Well, I wouldn't say it's that bad. He kept us.
He kept you afloat.
It could have been really bad. I think we won 6 games that year, and I think he went 4-5 as a starter, which is not bad. That's serviceable, but it wasn't great.
Went left with the Bears.
Absolutely.
But now he's with the Saints, and the team seems to be responding a little bit differently. If you're the Saints, are you going with Dalton and not Jameis, or what are you doing there?
So, before I am the Saints, I'm going to talk as Anthony, the man that has a bet against our resident Saints fan. I tell you what, if Andy Dalton is their starter, I'm definitely winning that bet of the Cowboys having a better record than the Saints. And honestly, I don't think they're gonna have that great of a year anyway. But if I was management, I would probably consider going with Andy Dalton just because he gave them a spark. And let's be honest, if you compare the career of Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton's had a better career. And right now, I don't know if Jameis Winston. I don't know what's going on. Cause I do like Jameis Winston. I do think that he has some talent, but it's almost like he just can't get right.
So I think this is what it is, right? I think sometimes maybe we over-evaluate people. And sometimes people just need to sit down for more than 1 year, right? So you look at Geno Smith. And this is what made me think of Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Geno Smith sat down for some years, right?
Right.
He got to observe. He got to be a backup. Came in. He seized the opportunity. Jameis, because of where he was drafted, we're looking at him like, okay, you're going to be that guy. He's flashed the potential, and we thought maybe with Sean Payton that he'll be better. He got to sit behind Drew Brees. But for whatever reason, I'm just not seeing where he gives the team that spark or he gives that team the encouragement that we've got a good quarterback behind us. He's screaming above average backups.
Jameis.
Yeah. I don't know if...
Damn, above average backup. Yeah, I mean...
I don't know if I want him starting for my team. You know, or if he is starting, do I feel like we could really win games,
It's gonna be tough for them to win games. And the more they lose, the better it is for me. Because I like winning bets. I just do. Especially against my friends. It makes it even better. So again, we're a quarter through the season. We have some matchups. You want to do some picks?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, so we can start with Ravens Bengals. That's actually the Sunday night game, but why not?
I'll go Ravens. I think the Ravens bounce back.
So I had the Ravens last week, and I'm gonna go Ravens as well. And I think the game is in Baltimore. So yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens as well.
The Bengals, even though they've turned it around, they're 2-2 now. They still have a lot of trouble running the ball.
Okay. Let's go. We have Cowboys and Rams.
I'm gonna go Cowboys just because of the Rams' performance on Monday night.
That's it. Just okay.
Yeah. I don't have any confidence in them. I think the Cowboys have found like their groove. It's not going to be enough to take them where they need to. This hogwash of you got me saying it of Cooper Rush staying in there when Dak comes back and all that.
Yeah, ain't nobody.
Yeah. They definitely need Dak, but I like what Cooper Rush is doing. And I think the offense and the defense, actually the defense has been the identity of that team in this early season. So I see the defense being able to get it done.
And the Cowboys defensive front is just as aggressive as the 49ers defensive front. And so I think that the Cowboys win. I don't know what the spread is on that, but the Rams are home. Okay. All right, so we got Kenny Pickett making his first start. Steelers versus the Bills at Buffalo.
Yeah. gonna tell you that when he came in after halftime, I mean, I was rooting out. I was good because
they had juice though.
yeah. They had juice, but he still threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, but when you're coming in as a sub, it's
tough to find your rhythm. It's gonna be even tougher this weekend. I got Buffalo.
They're a 14-point underdog.
Yeah, and they deserve to be a 14-point underdog. I think
They don't even cover the spread.
No. That's gonna be a rough year. You can just see it in Mike Tomlin's face.
He knows it.
Yeah, he knows it, and hopefully, making the switch helped him save his job to where it buys him another year to where they realize that there's gonna be some growing pains. But I got Buffalo in that.
All right. We got the Chargers at the Browns.
It's really, 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 really tough to get behind the Chargers.
We got the Chargers
that defense, you would think, would be a little bit better. But I'm still going Chargers. I'm going to go Chargers.
All right, we'll do two more games. One that surprised me that I guess you wouldn't really think that these two teams would be 1-3 at this point. The Lions at the Patriots.
I'm going Lions.
I'm going Lions too. I think that game is a 2-score game.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Patriots could keep up offensively with the Lions.
The Lions are the scariest 1-3 team that I've seen in a while. I don't know if I just like the coach and I like the identity of the team. I find myself rooting for the Lions. So
me too.
Yeah, hopefully they get it done.
All right, the last one we'll do. 49ers at the Panthers.
Oh yeah, the 49ers.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm not picking the Panthers. I'm just saying. The Panthers are sneaky. Now, I ain't saying sneaky good. I ain't saying sneaky bad. They're just sneaky. And I feel like they're going to give the 49ers have to come across the country. But it is a 4 o'clock game. But the Panthers are sneaky.
So the Panthers always give the 49ers a tough time. It doesn't matter what the record is. It's always a tough game, and it's always a low-scoring game when they play. So here's the thing about the Panthers, right? And I'm not going to crap on them too much because they have some talent on that team. It's just a matter of when they can get it going. McCaffrey, he's there, he's healthy. For whatever reason, he can't find his rhythm. Their receiving core, I mean, they've got DJ Moore, they've got Robbie Anderson. I mean, they've got some weapons at receiver. Their defense, I mean, is young. I mean, it's a solid defense.
Right.
And I mean, Baker Mayfield, I know I've given them crap, but he's got weapons. So I'm not going to sit here and act like we're that great. Right. I'm impressed with our defense. I like what Deebo Samuel was able to do to the Rams, but we've got some work to do too. So I still pick us, but it's not going to be a blowout.
Yeah. Maybe I'll look at the spread and see what the spread is on Sunday.
You going Panthers?
I don't know. Oh, man.
Like I said, it's not going to be a cakewalk. Our season, it's going to be tough sledding.
Yeah.
But
Jimmy Garoppolo is playing pretty good ball, too.
He played really good against the Rams. But can he keep that momentum? And can we get it going? So
right. All right. And so NBA preseason started, and I know I know we're gonna get into more NBA stuff in the next couple weeks, but first thing, I need to drop out. I don't want to play fantasy basketball this season. I don't want to do it. Man.
You got to delete your team before you start drafting. Like, you got to go in there on the computer
and delete
your team. I had to do that with some fantasy
football.
So I'm in a couple of leagues. Ern has a league. I think I want to do him a solid. My dad has a league, so you can't get out of your parents' league.
Yeah,
And then I'm at
and I can't really leave out to Dad's league.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
And then I'm at Oaks League. So the issue that I'm starting to have with fantasy basketball is as I put more money up in fantasy football, and there's no money going into fantasy basketball, right when fantasy basketball starts to take off to where you should be evaluating, like, okay, maybe I messed up on my draft, but this guy is out there. He's on the waiver wire. He's having a good season. Let me pick him up. My focus is all on football. And that's a tough.
So with that, I know again we're gonna get into NBA basketball, our predictions and things of that nature later. Are there any expectations from any players that you?
Oh yeah. Zion Williamson.
Okay.
Looked really good yesterday. I know he only played 15 minutes, but 13 rebounds. 13 points, 4 rebounds. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape. That's the slimmest that I've seen him. I think he's going to have a really big year.
Absolutely.
Ben Simmons and the Nets. Will that come to fruition? I know
Yeah, it looks like
it. But,
yeah, nobody cares about wins and losses in the preseason.
But it didn't look bad watching it.
Yeah.
Clippers. I know we both aren't really Clippers fans, but Kawhi, he's coming back. They've got John Wall.
Are they a championship team? That's my question to you.
They can be. They can be.
Hey, look.
The West. So look, somebody's going to take the Jazz's place. So you've got the players there, right? So you got Denver. This is going to be right there. You got the Clippers is going to be there. You have the Warriors is going to be there.
Yeah.
I hate to say this, but you got to put the Lakers in that.
If they're healthy, yeah. I think the Grizzlies are going to be around, and I think the Suns are going to be around.
The Suns are definitely going to be there. And then Minnesota.
I
wouldn't be surprised if they're there. So, there's 7 legitimate teams, and then there's always one that sneaks up.
And never count pop out. But all right, so because we're about to get up out of here, and make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do that before we get upset. But the last person I want to talk about, I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly. Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, that's the player, right?
The French. Oh, hey, look. Listen, he's going to have a lot of teams tanking this year because that boy
he's nasty.
Ball.
Yeah,
he's a ball.
They talk about shutting him down, too.
Yeah, and they're not going to They said no. They say, yo, he wants to play basketball. This dude is 7'2", and he can handle the rock. He can shoot the ball. And, yo, he could ball. So
he's a ball player.
Listen, it's going to be him and everybody else in the draft. He's going number 1 unless something crazy happens. But he's going to be number 1, and I can't wait to see who gets number 1. There's going to be some tanking this year, so don't be surprised if Orlando tanks. Don't be surprised if Utah tanks. Don't be surprised if Cleveland tanks. Even though they got Donovan Mitchell, I think they're going to be all right. But don't be surprised if some teams that you expect to be good, they slip up early in the season, and all of a sudden their star player is hurt.
Look, let me tell you, some of these young players that's coming up that's going to be in the next 7 to 8 years or maybe even 6 years. I was looking at Eric Dampier, right? His son, 12 years old, 6'8", and is out there handling the ball as a guard, going coast to coast and dunking. And he's like the top 12-year-old right now. But you're looking at a 12-year-old that is 6'8". And the way that he handles the ball like he's 6 foot. Scary, man. Scary.
All right, man. So we got a little bit of basketball. We talk basketball. Serena, shout out to Serena. I don't even know, whatever. All right, man. I think, You know, something crazy is gonna happen from the time we log off. From the time we log off to next week, something crazy is gonna happen.
Facts.
And so, you know what we might do, and we're gonna think about it. We'll talk about it. Possibly doing a who plays Monday night? I think the Raiders and the Chiefs play.
Yep.
Possibly doing a show live during the game.
Hey, let's do it.
So we'll see. We'll talk about it. We got all that. You know what I mean?
Man, we'll do it. We'll set it up, man. Should be lit.
But yeah, man. So I guess it's time to go. This is Off the Record. I'm Anthony Adebayo.
Boy, Scotty B.
We're out. We're leaving. We're done. We're done here.